That man does it again. Erling Haaland with his 14th goal of the season. His 11th Premier League goal of the season, closing in at rapid speed on Mohamed Salah's single season record of 32 goals. And look, another dominant performance from Manchester City. Jack Grealish popping up, silencing the doubters, silencing the critics with his first goal of the season inside a minute of the start of the game. They go back top of the league until Arsenal play tomorrow. And is that it now? A lot of people kind of feel City have found their stride. City will not falter from this point. City are clear. City will walk away with the league. I've got some things to say about that on the show, but I do want your take. I want your thought, and I want your feeling. Sarim here says, Terry, he silenced you. I look at it this way with Jack Grealish. Today he did, yeah. He went, but how did he silence me? By scoring goals, by creating goals. The things that I'm saying, if he doesn't do, he's a flop. So if Jack Grealish scoring goals, creating goals, improving his GA, silences me, that means my opinion is right. Without those goals, without those assists, he ain't delivering against that £100 million price tag. And Jack Grealish agrees with me. Not me personally. He doesn't know who I am. But that passion, that desire, that the energy that he let out when he scored, for me, completely and utterly demonstrates that he knows that he has to score goals, that he knows that just being a techie player, looking good, passing the eye test is never enough at this level. And I'm happy for Jack Grealish because he's a football player that I think has got so much talent. He's got so much about him. But when you're at a club like Man City and you're an attacker, the tricks, the flicks, the silks are great. End product is what's needed at the end of the day to complement it. You need both to be £100 million player. Jack Grealish is running and he scores goals. That's what the guy needs to do. Absolutely. And what I saw more from Jack Grealish today, the reason that he got that goal, the reason that he was so much more influential, the amount of times he was making runs in from that wide left-hand position into the box. He was putting himself in positions to be more involved and easily. I haven't got the stats, but the eye test tells me, I reckon he made an additional 10 to 15 runs from wide positions into the box today. And that is where his goal came from. And if Jack Grealish can do that on a more regular basis, he will score more, he will create more, he will deliver more in a Manchester City shirt. And then it will start to pay back that £100 million price tag. You saw Foden today getting that goal. KDB, 2 assists again. Haaland, another goal. When you're one of the main attackers at City, your individual brilliance in and around that box is what separates you from an also run and a superstar. And Jack Grealish today was very, very good. So he deserves big, big credit for that. Ilyas here says, Haaland is so good. I've just got to tell you this about Haaland. Best striker in the league as it stands right now. Phenomenal. Involved in build-up play today, scored from outside the box. And I was quite happy for him because people, again, that goal, the goalpost will now be moved on to another level. It was, can he score outside the box? He's done that. Can he be involved in the build-up play of the games? He's done that. And I think what's really disrespectful and kind of disconcerting as a football fan when it comes to Haaland, I know this for a fact. People don't watch a lot of Man City's games. They don't watch them in their entirety. On a Champions League night, they'll watch the other English team playing normally. They will very rarely watch Man City's games in the same way they watch Man United or Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool. And we also know that by looking at the viewing figures that come out as well. They're never as high. However, this leads to people misanalyzing stuff with Haaland. They'll see a stat that he only had 15 touches in a particular game and say, he's rubbish, he's not involved, he's doing nothing else. They'll ignore the fact that he averages around 30 touches per game normally, which is still lower than a lot of other strikers, but that's because he's different from those individuals. But he does get involved in build-up play. His ability on the ball, his touch, his movement, his passing. People try to compare him to Lukaku, and I find that to be such a disrespect, not only to Haaland himself, but you're disrespecting yourself by lying about football. He is superior to a player like Haaland in relation to the build-up play. Now, he's got some improvements to make, and I think he can become a better football player in those areas, but he's good at it. And if you actually watch Manchester City's games, like I do, I've watched every City game so far this season, you would see that he is involved on a more regular basis. However, Do you want him dropping 10 yards deeper, getting involved in the midfield areas, bursting a gut out into the wide areas when he doesn't need to? Or do you want this guy to remain predatory in and around the box, doing what he does better than anybody else in the world right now, and that's score goals? No, conserve your energy for that. The Man City system can take care of all those other situations. Stay in that box and score some goals, because this guy is breaking records. Today, the first player ever in Premier League history to score in their first 4 away games in the league. He's on 11 goals in 7 games. I don't think that's ever been done before. 14 games in his opening 10 matches of the season. The guy is tracking towards scoring. I'll get the actual number because it depends how many games he plays this year. But if he plays, let me get these numbers up in front of us again here, right? So he's scoring 1.4 goals per game. If he plays 60 football matches this season, he's going to score 84 goals. If he keeps scoring at this rate in the Premier League, he's going to score 53 Premier League goals. So the rate of which he is scoring, the speed of which he is scoring right now is unprecedented in our times. And that's why I say best goal scorer, best striker in the league by now by a country mile. I truly, truly believe that he is scoring goals at a rate we have never, ever seen. And I don't believe he's going to drop off dramatically. I don't. Do I think he's going to score 53 Premier League goals? No. Do I think he's going to break the 32 goal barrier? Yes. Do I think he'll break the 35 goal barrier? Yes. And I'm going to say it right now. And we all know my prediction is if he doesn't get a major injury, that's a prerequisite. You shouldn't have to explain it. Haaland scores 40 Premier League goals this year. He's going to score 40 Premier League goals, in my opinion, or near to that number. I might end up being wrong because he scores 38, but I'm taking that as a W anyway. He's scoring high 30s, if not 40s, this season. This guy is a gift from God. If you're a football fan and you ain't enjoying him, you don't like football. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. He's just out of this world. Out of this world. And I did put a poll out because I wanted to have a bit of a conversation on the stream. Who would you pick right now? If you had the choice, you could choose between Kane or Haaland to be your number 9 at your club right now. Who are you picking right now? 85% of the viewers have picked Haaland. We have the same poll running on Twitter. 80% on Twitter have picked Haaland as well over Harry Kane. What's your thoughts? What's your feelings? Haaland is clear of Kane. The fact that Spurs fans put Kane in the Aguero-Suarez bracket proves he has 0 trophies. The scary part is Haaland is not completely up to speed yet, and that's a great point. He isn't. I think there's another level to come from him. And remember, during the World Cup period, this man's getting a month off to chill, relax, stay fresh, and then come back and hit the ground running. And by the way, this guy, you know where this guy's from? Born in England, from Norway. You think the cold weather's going to stop him? This man's a Viking. This man, he's born in the Viking. He's like a Viking in terms of the climate that he's used to. But he's a Targaryen when it comes to the fire in his heart. This man is an alien. I'm not even saying this in a rude way. Man's a freak. He's a freak of nature. He is. Blue Viper says Haaland over Kane. Kane is a cyborg, is what's been said here. Perlo says Haaland every day. Terry loves history, but wanted Rashford over Mbappe. That is not what I said at all. Not what I said at all. That's a lie. I will tell you what I said back in the time. When Rashford was in a good run of form, he was scoring lots of goals and assisting for like a 2-month period. And I said at the time, he's in Mbappe level form right now. But for him to get to that level, he needs to maintain it. That's what I said. Another good attempt at twisting my words, my friend. But you can't get me. You can't get me with lies. Haaland, obviously, is what DJ says. Haaland. Look at this. This is my number before the season even started. Wow, I got laughed at for suggesting he would break Mo Salah's record. He's scoring more goals than I expected him to be. He's actually surpassed my expectations. 14 in 10 games is ridiculous. Best striker in the world. over 30 goals is a W. Yeah, listen, he could do it. But I also think if he stays fit for the whole season and plays 55, 60 games, this guy's going to score. I mean, I said the other day over 50. I'm probably undercooking that. This guy's going to score between 60 and 70 goals this year. He will have the best single season in the post-war history of English football. He really, really is. Miss you. This. Sorry, I've already read that one out there. Sorry, my friend. It's crazy how many goals he's scoring. Haaland is the perfect modern player, a clinical striker suited to the modern game of systems. Will be the highest goals in a game when he is done, is what Kurdish Ball believes. Kane could have been Haaland if he left Spurs multiple years ago. Even if he scores 1,000 goals with 0 trophies, it means nothing. Well, I disagree. It means nothing. It does mean something, but he needs trophies because Haaland's going to win Prems. Haaland's going to win Champions Leagues. Haaland's going to win domestic cups. Legacy-wise, Haaland will leave him behind. He will leave him behind. Terry, KDB has 6 assists. Is he breaking the assist record? He most certainly could. KDB is just a phenomenal football player playing in a team which just what's going to help him with those assists is, I mean, both his assists today didn't come from Haaland, but what's going to help him is when you've got such efficiency up front, because Foden's pretty efficient. As an example, Haaland, of course, is 41% conversion rate. When you've got so many attackers that convert chances, it helps KDB get the assists because, of course, if you're passing the ball to mish strikers that do nothing in front of goal, you're not going to get the assists. So he certainly could because he's good enough, and the players he's passing the ball to are equally as good. So, of course, he's got that chance. So is Kane versus Haaland even a debate anymore? I think it's a debate because Harry Kane is a better football player overall. Haaland can't pass like Kane. Haaland can't drop deep like Kane does. But the question is, taking all that into account, if you had to pick one, who are you picking and why? And for me, Man United had the chance to sign either of the two right now based on the inhuman way he scores, the age that is on his side. There's something about his personality, which I love as well. And all of these factors matter. I'm picking Erling Haaland to be my number 9. I'm also a big fan of Harry Kane. People on Twitter saying I've got an issue with Harry Kane. I don't. I think Harry Kane is sensational, but I agree with the previous person. Harry Kane should have left Tottenham. There's talk of Bayern Munich wanting him. Harry Kane, I implore you, Harry Kane, leave Tottenham Hotspur, join Bayern Munich, forget Alan Shearer's record. It's going to count for nothing in the grand overall legacy of the game. I don't even care if you get in the Hall of Fame. Football fans will not recognize you as a legend. Go to Bayern Munich, win the Bundesliga, win the Champions League, win the Pokal, win these trophies. You become a European football legend with your goal scoring ability. He'll go to the Champions League and he'll have those big Champions League nights that will be remembered by football in 50 years, 100 years' time. Breaking the goal scoring record in the Prem for Tottenham and not winning a Premier League or not winning a Champions League, you'll be remembered as a stat man. You remember the guy that scored lots of goals. But you won't be remembered, in my opinion, across the world of football as an out-and-out legend because those moments won't exist. And those moments only exist when you're doing them and you're scoring them and you're creating them in title winning, championship winning, cup winning runs. You know, I saw Arsenal fans recently push this notion that Aubameyang should be considered a legend. It is sacrilegious to put his name next to Ian Wright, to put his name next to Thierry Henry, to put his name next to Dennis Bergkamp. People that had equally as good a moments, better moments in campaigns that yielded the biggest victories, the biggest successes in the history of this football club. And that's what it's all about. So he can do it. He can do it at Spurs, Harry Kane, but he can't get into that finite group of players that you call legends without achieving what they've achieved. That's unfair. Somebody cannot become a legend like Usain Bolt without getting close to equaling or beating his records. Otherwise, you can't touch him. I think we've got to keep the same energy for football. Egal's coming on with me now, my people, to have his say. How's it going, brother?
Champions League. Sorry, I was not expecting you to add me so quickly. I was eating grapes. How you doing?
Brother. I'm good, my friend. I kind of enjoyed that game for the opening 54 seconds, and then City scored, and it was over. What's your take on it, bro? Like, first of all,
we have a problem, Terry. We have a problem. Erling Haaland is a problem. He's going to turn this league into a joke. He's going to absolutely, every game, there might as well be 1-0 up because he's just going to score every game. And it's like, the fact is, I know you don't play fantasy as much, but I play fantasy. If you don't captain this guy every week, you're going to regret it because he's just making people punish for fun. And I think defenders are now getting scared. Before they play the game, I feel like they're going into the game knowing that they're going to have a battle with this guy, and they're just worried that they're going to come out. He's going to come out on top. And mentally, they've already lost the game before the game started.
Mate, I couldn't agree with you more. He is, as you said, I reckon if you turn around the clubs and said, look, you can play against City with 10, they have 10 men, but they're 1-0 up at the start of the game. I think people would prefer that than going in 0-0 against 11 men with Haaland. He's dangerous. And neither of our clubs have played against him yet this year. I don't know about you. If he gets that ball in that 6-yard box, I know I'm going to be like, no.
Terry,
I don't want it.
He has more goals in that 6-yard box than teams have scored this season. That's actually a skill. Like, what he's doing is impressive. People used to make fun of it. People still make fun of it, calling it tap-ins. But it's just, if you're at Manchester City and you're a striker and your movement is that good, you're gonna get those tap-ins. Anyone who's playing in a team that can distribute and create as many chances as Man City is gonna get those tap-ins, and it should not be disrespected. It should be appreciated.
No, without a doubt. And I mean, some of them aren't even what I would call tap-ins, but there was a moment today, wasn't, the one against Dortmund isn't a tap-in. It's like,
no, that's ridiculous.
It's just not, I don't even know what to call it, but it ain't a tap-in. Yeah, it's like yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of when he does that? In Doctor Strange, where the man comes out of his body and it's like the ghost is doing something. It's like he's come out of his body.
Have you seen the meme that people are doing? The guy on the couch and the black guy is like, he swung his body to the side.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about.
No, I hear you. It's crazy, but I implore people to watch what he does in the box. The way he would drift. He does these sort of like crescent movements where he'll be in the middle and the ball will be scrambling around it and move out wide, and he'll move away from the goal line towards, like, as if he's going out the box, but then curves his run back round to the back post, and then he's in between the defenders again. He drifts and he glides and he ghosts. It's what I call ghosts in and around that box to be in the right position to be able to score. And there's so many times where defenders are in front of him, they get their head on the ball, they clear it, and you can see him making the headed movement or the shot movement because he's anticipating it coming through. That's a skill in itself. But the attribute that isn't being recognized because it isn't a step over, it isn't a flick, it isn't something you're going to make a compilation of.
Separation.
It's his persistency, because he gets himself in that position every time. Some strikers might get into that position 5 times out of 10 in a game. And maybe on the number 6 time, and they go, oh, I'm not going to make that run this time because the ball doesn't make it. They don't make the run, or they don't get into the position, and then the ball trickles across the 6-yard box. And we as fans go, why didn't I make the run? He always does. And that's why he picks up more goals. It's a skill to know where to be, but it's a dedication that needs to be praised for being in that position every time. And by the way, Harry Kane is also phenomenal at that. And that's why Harry Kane, if he'd have left and done the sensible thing and left Tottenham 4, 5, 6 years ago and gone to a City, gone to a Liverpool, went to whether it be a Real Madrid, maybe not Barca at that time, if he'd have gone to any of those clubs, this guy, he may not be scoring quite at this frequency, but he'd have easily another 50 to 80 goals to his name across all competitions. He'd have league title medals. He'd probably, by the way, if he'd have been at City for the last 3 to 4 years, City would have won the Champions League with Harry Kane as well, because he's that good. And I reckon there'll be a part of Harry Kane. He may not want to admit it publicly. I bet he's looking at Haaland right now thinking that should have been me. Like those inventors that come out and say, "Oh, I had the idea to invent the kettle, and I didn't follow it through." Do you get what I mean? He must be sitting there thinking, "Haaland's doing what is where I should be right now. That should be me. All the accolades, that should be Harry Kane." But he didn't force his move enough. He didn't force his move.
Look, he's not a better shooter than Harry Kane. I would say he's not a better passer than Harry Kane. Arguably, he's not even a better finisher than Harry Kane. He doesn't have the weak foot of Harry Kane. But from what he has right now, he's going to outscore Harry Kane and outperform him as never before. He's not going to get as many assists, but goals wise, he's going to outperform him. And when we're talking about strikers, everyone's going to talk about modern strikers and everything they bring to the game. If you have Erling Haaland, that is like having Ibrahimovic in his palm. That's like having any striker that you need to mold your game around him. And you know what? I might not agree with the argument of who's a better all-around player. Obviously, Harry Kane is a better all-around player, but Erling Haaland right now is showing that for the future, it's going to be his game. And he right now is probably arguably the best player on form in this league. No question about it, actually. Why am I saying arguably? He's the best player in this league right now on form. Kevin De Bruyne is amazing. Don't get me wrong. He's second to him because he's his teammate, but he's going to get all the accolades. He's going to get all the praise. And at the end of the day, you might be right, Terry. I eat my words. Everyone who ever doubted this guy, they're putting their hands up probably. And it might just be the fact that he's playing in the Premier League now that I'm seeing it more and more.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I want to read out these numbers for Haaland. I want to get these numbers. 14 goals in his first 10 Man City games. He has 100 goals in his last 99 appearances as a football player. He has 26 Champions League goals in 21 Champions Leagues appearances. Wow. And he's 22 years old. This is, like I've said, this is unprecedented in our time. The best finisher of this generation, the best finisher the Premier League has seen at this age. At 22 years of age, this is the best finisher we have ever seen. Harry Kane at this point in his career was just breaking into the Tottenham team after being on loan at Leyton Orient and Leicester and Norwich and whoever else he was at. That isn't a dig at Harry Kane. It's showing you the difference in level at this age. This guy has got 26 goals in the Champions League at this point. And as I said, look at that, 100 goals in his last 99 appearances. That gives him an efficiency ratio of over 100%, meaning he's guaranteeing you right now, I will score in nearly every single game that we play in. It's unprecedented. And to not recognize him as the best, and I know he's only been here for 10 games in the league, but he's taken that form from Germany. He's taken that form from Austria. He's taken that form. You've got to think internationally as well. He has 20 international goals in 21 caps for Norway. For Norway. It's, mate, I've never seen anything. When R9 was doing this, people my age, I'm talking purely goals, not his ability on the ball. When R9,
you gotta be careful there.
you only have to be careful because there's a lot of stupid people out there that don't listen. When R9 was scoring like this at a young age in Europe, I was very young still. And equally, football wasn't as accessible. The internet I don't even know if the internet had been invented by this point, but if so, YouTube weren't around. Other countries' leagues weren't shown on television in the UK like they are now. So you weren't able to witness it. You just kind of read about it. Does that make sense? Or you'd hear a pundit or a journalist talk about this guy scoring all these goals. It's the first time I've been able to witness it from its birth. Does that make sense? I actually witnessed this guy do it week in, week out. And we are talking sort of 30 years ago that R9 was breaking through, right? So, and I'm not even comparing them on ability, but on goal scoring prowess at this age, Haaland, and Mbappe's there as well, but Haaland's just, there's something about him I find.
Terry, they're building him up.
So amazing. So amazing.
You know what this is? This is we're building him up. And then when he gets to a certain level where people are like, everyone's just praising him too much, people are then going to start hating on him. And that's when like Mo Salah experienced that. Every great player is going to experience that. But right now, he's absolutely smashing it. He's killing it. He's on the rise with Man City. If they win a Champions League, that's when people are going to say he's officially the best player in the world, or they're going to give Kevin De Bruyne that tag. But I want to see who gets all the plaudits going forward. Is it going to be Kevin De Bruyne or is it going to be Haaland? Because I think today, Haaland scored 1 goal, but we're only talking about him. Kevin De Bruyne got 2 assists today and surpassed Steven Gerrard's record. It's like, and that's
Did he? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know he got 2 assists today, but I didn't realize he got past. I mean, let me ask you this question. Do you think KDB is a better midfielder and has a better Premier League legacy than Steven Gerrard?
If we're talking solely Premier League, yes. Let's not. There's not even recency bias, guys. His resume is stupendous. How many Champions Leagues? I mean, he hasn't won any Champions Leagues yet. Obviously, that wasn't even a dig. How many Premier Leagues has he won? How many League Cups has he won? How many FA Cups? How many domestic trophies overall has he won in the Premier League? His resume in the Premier League is stupendous, and that's just looking at his resume since he joined Man City. I'm not sure if he picked up any trophies while he was at Chelsea, or if he or I know he didn't play much, but like, did any of those count towards his resume? I don't know. What do you guys think? But let me know. Honestly, I just think Kevin De Bruyne right now, he can make a case for himself that he's top 3 all time potentially.
I mean, I think KDB. I put him into my top 5 last season. Patrick Vieira is in my top 5. Scholes is in my top 5. Lampard's in my top 5. KDB. No, Cesky's just slightly out of it. And he's there or thereabouts. But KDB is clear as Steven Gerrard now, because he's won the Premier League. I'm saying 4 times. It might be 5. He's won the Premier League at least 4 times.
Kante?
Sorry?
What about Kante?
Kante, he's a better footballer than Kante. So Kante is amazing, but KDB has won the Prem. He's the level of creativity, the level of goal contributions, his ability to pass the ball. So on ability and achievements, I think he surpasses N'Golo Kante. He's clearer Gerrard in the league in terms of legacy, because like, he's got 92 assists in the Premier League in 217 games. Gerrard got 92 assists in 504 games. That's just a statistic. Then you've got the individual player awards. And I know Hussam will be watching this. You're going about player awards. I'm going to guess here. I haven't even bothered looking, and I'll do the research. I reckon KDB's had similar numbers for the amount of time he's been here, pound for pound. Like, Steven Gerrard has played 504 Premier League games, so he was obviously in the Premier League longer. KDB has won multiple Player of the Years awards. He's definitely been nominated for Teams of the Year in multiple competitions. He's got all the player awards. He's got the statistical outputs, and then he's got the trophies. All the things that we rave about players, clutch moments.
In multiple countries. He won Player of the Year in Germany, Terry.
It's crazy. Yeah, KDB is absolutely clear of Steven Gerrard. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt.
And I'll take it even further, Terry. The fact is, he's not done his career yet. He's not finished playing football yet. He's doing this right now, and we're giving him these plaudits, still actively playing. He could do this for another 3 to 4 years, and maybe he even drops even deeper and does it for more than that. We don't know. But what I'm saying is, by the end of his career, I think he could surpass every single midfielder in Premier League history and be probably the greatest midfielder of all time. And the only thing that's stopping him from not being recognized as that is the fact that he plays for Manchester City, and it's not one of the biggest fan bases. Because if he had a larger fan base, they'd be screaming that he's already one of the best Premier League midfielders of all time.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt. There's no doubts about that. I think you're absolutely spot on when you say that. And that's one of the reasons why I probably cheerlead for some City players more than I do others, is because I don't always feel that they get the respect that they deserve. Does that make sense? And I sometimes feel that they're kind of overlooked a little bit. So yeah, from my point of view, 110%. 110%, I agree. We're going to bring in another caller now to join us and have his stay as well. We're going to keep you on though, Egal, if you're willing to stay around. Kurdish Ball is here. What are you saying, bro?
Yes, Terry. Yes, Egal. Thanks for having me on again, bro.
Not a problem. What are you saying? What are you saying?
I just want to say what Egal said. We've got a problem. We've got issues. The whole league has got a problem, mate. I watched you yesterday, Terry. I think I can't remember on what show it was, but somebody asked you about defenders in the previous era and whether it's easier in the modern league. And you mentioned systems are more focused on the league. And actually what you've got now, people will say Haaland is a system player. I completely think he's got a lot of traits, but overall he is. And what you've got now is a system perfectly set up for probably the best goal poacher, best goal finisher, best out-and-out finisher in the game right now, perfectly suited to him. So actually, if the system is perfect, which it is, and that system allows to basically create as many chances as possible and have your body in the box, when you then have the best out-and-out finisher in the game, he's just going to score. That's all he's going to do. And I can't believe we're here. People are going, oh, but he doesn't run into the lines and he doesn't, stretch defenders and all these things. That doesn't matter. Goals are currency. They're the golden currency in the game. And when the system is perfectly set up for him not to need to do those things, but just to score, and he is delivering, he's going to go on to be the highest goal scorer of the game if he continues this way. And there are reasons for that. The modern game is very system focused, and Haaland is the perfect modern player to suit certain systems. And in Guardiola's system now, he doesn't even play the false nine as much. He just needs someone in that box to finish. And now you've got the best out and out striker. The only thing I would say is, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, is towards the latter stages of the season, there's going to be teams who are fighting for their life, and they will set up low blocks. And Haaland is going to go maybe 3 to 4 games, not many games, 3 to 4 where he's not going to score. And quickly, the media are going to turn on him. And everything that we're saying now, where he doesn't stretch the lines and he's a poacher and he stays in that box, they're going to start saying, why is he not stretching the lines? Why is he not pushing defenders out into the wing? Why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing this? But actually, on the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, because he's there in a perfect system suited to his abilities, where he's going to get you 1 to 2 to 3 goals every game.
I don't know if we're going to see a moment in time throughout the season where he struggles to score. Like, I think if he struggles to score, it's maybe because they're playing up against a top team and he doesn't score in that game. Or they could say he doesn't score in big games, but we'll have to wait and see. First, we have to cross that path. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I think he's going to – this guy could have a goal per game ratio this season. It could be that crazy.
Do you know what I find interesting about it is I think he will go through periods where he doesn't score some goals. Because when you see 100 goals in 99 games, he hasn't scored in all 99 games. There's already people on his neck because people try to protect their legends. So we've seen in recent years, Liverpool fans push the notion that winning trophies isn't important. And that's always been pushed to elevate Gerrard. You don't have to always win the trophies to be a star. Spurs fans are now on this. Like, you can still be the GOAT of the Premier League without winning any trophies. Why do they want that? Because they actually know that Harry Kane, if he stays, will probably break Shearer's record, and statistically speaking, has records that most other attackers in Premier League history don't have. But if you can eradicate the need to deliver in high-pressured title-winning seasons, if you can remove the need to win any of those trophies, if you can remove the need to have huge clutch moments in pivotal games in massive seasons, then you can include him. So what people will do with Haaland is they'll look for a way to ensure that nothing he does can touch a Kane, or nothing he does can touch an Henry, or nothing he does can touch. We've seen it with Liverpool. The way people try and put down Mo Salah is because they see a man scoring and assisting at the same rate as Thierry Henry, and it's like, if he wins a few more league titles and another Champions League, there will become a debate. Whether he wins the debate or not is irrelevant, but people try and stop those conversations from happening. You can't do it to Haaland. But I'm just looking here, guys, on the KDB thing. So I was doing the research while you guys were talking. So Steven Gerrard in the Premier League era, 504 games, 120 goals, 92 assists, 1 Champions League, 2 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, 3 League Cups and 1 UEFA Cup. KDB, 217 games, 58 goals. So by the way, goals-wise, he's tracking to get about the same amount of goals as Gerrard. If you double these games goal ratio, he'll get the same amount of goals. He already has 92 assists, 4 Premier League, 5 League Cups, 1 FA Cup. I would say with KDB, if he could play another 200, 300 games, I still think he'll win a Champions League with Man City. I still think City will do it when KDB's there. In your opinion, Kurdish Ball, is KDB clear now or past Steven Gerrard in terms of overall legacy as a Premier League player?
No. Just to make sure I'm not getting clipped, I think KDB is the best passer we've seen in the Premier League and in the top 3 to top 4 midfielders of all time. The only reason, and I'm a Liverpool fan, so maybe I have an agenda, but the only reason I don't accept any slander on Steven Gerrard is because whether it's Lampard, whether it's Kevin De Bruyne, whether it's Patrick Vieira, the majority of their careers, they played with world-class players. Steven Gerrard had 3 to 4 seasons where he played with Xabi Alonso, Mascherano, and Torres. Apart from that, he played with very average or just above average players at Liverpool throughout his career. Gerrard carried that team over multiple years. You put Kevin De Bruyne in a team with Albert Riera, David Ngo up front, and Dirk Kuyt on the left wing, he's not going to get the same assist because David Engo isn't Sergio Aguero or Erling Haaland. And that to me is why I don't like the debate around Gerrard, because it was never fair enough. And I know, Terry, you said he should have left. That was his choice. I watched you with who's the guy from Ligue 1. I know you said that he should have left. That was his choice. I completely appreciate that. But to compare him to others, I don't find it a fair argument, because the majority of players that he gets compared to were surrounded by world-class players throughout his time.
I just want to say this, bro. I hear your point, and don't look at it as slander. Just look at it as you have two resumes in front of you. Which resume is better?
Of course, but we have to put context behind things, bro.
No, but if you're looking at two resumes and you're saying who has achieved more, who has gotten more, who's done better, you're looking at the resume of one guy and you're saying his resume is much better. His resume proves it for himself. I genuinely believe that. I get it that there's context behind it, and when you're looking at two resumes, you can have players who have lesser talent that have achieved more than some players that have better talent. But if they're that close, or people would put them in similar breaths of conversation, that's when you have to split it hairs and look at the context behind the fact that, yes, one guy has had a lesser team, but the other guy's resume is so much better that it puts him in that conversation where you could say he's arguably the best. You can't say Steven Gerrard's the best right now, can you? With other people having such better resumes than him.
I think if you're talking, and I'm not here talking about one certain position as a cam or as a CDM or as a right mid. If you're talking overall midfielder as a player who could be played and play the best in each position, I think Gerrard proved that he could play CDM, CM, and cam in the best when he was there. In each position, he was the best when he played them, and he was utilized in all three.
Not when he was a DM.
When he dropped still,
DM, he was suspect.
But at the start of his career, Terry, not towards the end where his legs had gone, but at the start of his career, he came in as a right back, and then he went to CDM, and he was good there. He then went to CM, and then he had the season with Torres where he was cam and he got the most assists. That season, he was unbelievable. The problem you have here is with KDB argument. Same can be said. Apart from CDM,
KDB got 21 assists in the Bundesliga before he came to Man City.
Yeah, I know. This is what I'm saying. He played CM and cam, and arguably has been the best we've seen in both positions. Arguably the best we've seen. The only reason I just don't like the Gerrard comparisons is because of like I say, is who they're surrounded by. Whilst if you actually say to me,
but that's my point. Was that team that he had at Wolfsburg, was he surrounded by much better talent than what Liverpool would have had when Steven Gerrard was around?
No, I completely agree with you. But did he win the trophies? Did he get the numbers that?
Bro, he got the German Player of the Year that year.
I get that, but did this team win anything? Because here we're talking about, when we talk about resume, you're saying to me KDB's resume will say he's won 8 Premier Leagues, he's won this and this and this. If he was in Germany still in that team, for example, yes, he may have
won an equivalent to a FA Cup. He won the Polka, FDB Polka, and he won their Super Cup that year.
Yeah, Gerrard won the Champions League, FA Cups. Most people will argue single-handedly, but when you're talking about resumes on the whole, Gerrard will never have the resume of Kevin De Bruyne or Frank Lampard or Paul Scholes or Patrick Vieira, because at that time, them players were surrounded by world-class players, which then enabled Gerrard to basically win all these things as well. In Gerrard's situation, as I go back to it, if you look on the resume, KDB will always be better. I just think when people compare Gerrard to these top players, I don't think it's the fairest of comparisons because of his surroundings. I still would say, though, when KDB is done, he will go down as the best we've ever seen.
And I suppose this is the conversation I've had with a lot of people. If you're going to say by the time he retires, he's the best we've ever seen, so you're saying that he will become better than Gerrard? He's just not there yet.
No,
okay.
No.
And again, I think that's fair. I mean, you look at their overall careers, and I do think. So I had this conversation with someone the other day, and you can separate what someone did in the Prem versus what they did in the Champions League for certain conversations. But when you look at their overall careers, you shouldn't actually separate. I'll tell you why you shouldn't. If you've got a player who's in pivotal games week in, week out, Champions League, Premier League, it's harder to deliver in both at the same time, right? Because you're in both. You know, it's a lot easier if Haaland didn't have any Champions League games and he could just rest and be fresh for every Saturday to play in the Premier League, and he was scoring these goals, you would say, well, he ain't playing midweek. How will he deal with rotation and the jeopardy of that? So I look at someone's Premier League career in relation to what they did in the Prem and what they did outside of it, which is why yesterday when people said to me, well, you're saying Kane's not a GOAT, how can Gerrard be? Well, Gerrard won he won a Champions League, he won a UEFA Cup, he won 3 League Cups, 2 FA Cups. So he actually won trophies as a Premier League player still, within the Premier League, being a Premier League player. When you look at KDB, actually look at the overall numbers. As a Premier League player, Steven Gerrard played 710 games, 186 goals and 153 assists, which is astounding. And those trophies. KDB in 325 games, so basically half the amount of games, has 87 goals. So he's tracking to have score about the same as Gerrard, but he's already on 128 assists. As we said 4 EPLs, 5 League Cups, 1 FA Cup. He hasn't got those European trophies in there, which is something Gerrard has over him. Legacy is such an interesting word for me. I do get the argument Gerrard played with lesser players. But then I feel like when you say that, I don't know how to word this in the right way. It's a very good argument, and some people believe in it. My problem is we always make it sound like that was the hand that Gerrard was dealt and he couldn't do anything about it. Like we said, he could have moved on. His career choice was to stay. If someone's career choice is to drink alcohol 2 or 3 times a week and it ruins their career, if somebody's career choice is to, get involved with, do what Bellerin did and become a vegan activist and a model and focus on that more than playing football and they fall away, those are still career choices. Gerrard is obviously one thing, so his choice was better than that so far of Harry Kane's. But I believe both players decided to stay at their football clubs because they thought, I think this team could go to the next level and achieve all those achieve greatness here, and I want to do it here. That's still a career choice, and I think that your decisions on and off the pitch are also a kind of a reflection of what you achieved. Paul Gascoigne didn't achieve enough for his talent. He didn't achieve enough winning medals as his talent dictated he should have had. And a lot of that was career choice. The reasons why I would always put a Messi above a Ronaldinho isn't on ability. It's on Messi's decisions to stay completely fit his whole career and maintain those levels for over a decade. That isn't a dig at but people sometimes, some people look at football as being all about ability. Some look at it as being all about trophies. I try to be really balanced and look at it across all boards. And one area that doesn't get focused on is the decision-making that a player makes that puts them into the situation that they find themselves in, if that makes sense. And I think for me, that's one of those things where I kind of feel like Gerrard doesn't get defended from me. However, I look at KDB now and I look at ability. I look at what he's won. I look at the level of goals and assists that he creates for his team on a consistent basis. The performances and the ability are on par with Steven Gerrard, and then he's won those trophies. So I think to put them on par with Gerrard now is absolutely fair. If he plays another 200 games as a Premier League player and maintains these levels, he's going to leave him for dust because he's there or thereabouts with him now, if that makes sense. And if you look at their overall careers, because KDB played over 250, nearly 250 games. Nearly 250 games out of the Premier League. Like, he's already got more assists in his career at 211, and he's on 134 goals already. He's about 150 games behind Gerrard. Another 150 games, he's going to probably have more goals and assists in his career, more trophies. Ability is the debate that everybody will have. And actually, by the way, I do think Gerrard's disrespected slightly. A brilliant passer. And in his pomp, the only player in the world when Gerrard was at his best that was better at crossing the ball than Gerrard was David Beckham. Like, Gerrard was really, really good in those areas. But I just kind of feel like breaking it down in a longer format conversation rather than just a quick soundbite. Like, Gerrard is one of the best. But I do now put KDB just ahead of him, into my top 5. Gerrard doesn't make my top 5. And I base that on the fact that as great as his goal scoring ratio was, as great as his assists were, the players that are above him just kind of achieve more in their careers a little bit in terms of the overall CV, which I think matters. But I know Liverpool fans will definitely disagree with that. But it's just my take. KDB is 31. Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down. So I don't see why KDB can't play 3 more seasons. He plays on average 50 games a season. That's 150 more games. Like, I think he can play that many more games, especially at City, because there's great rotation. And he doesn't, that's the thing with him. He doesn't look like he's slowing down. If he was hit 31 and doing a bit of a Wayne Rooney and he was becoming sluggish and slow and he wasn't quite at it, but that's because KDB has made the right choices. I guarantee you KDB is a machine off the pitch. I bet he eats great. I bet he drinks the right things. I bet he sleeps at the right times. You know, I bet he isn't coming back into preseason training a stone overweight every summer. You know, and I know the Romanian, I know, look, I used to always say that about Rooney. He'd come back after his summer holidays, and I think the first 3 weeks of training was losing the weight he'd put on. And that when you're a footballer, over the course of time, that burns away at you. You get to your late 20s and your 30s, and your body says, nah, bruv. And that's that, by the way, that's the only thing that will slow Haaland down, is if Haaland becomes lazy and starts putting on weight, starts drinking the wrong things, partying too much. And like I say, I look at all those things as that's your decision around your career. Where it leads you to, it's on you, really. Like, I still look at Gerrard. He should have gone to Chelsea. He should have won that Champions League, and he should have gone to Chelsea, because then he would have won. He would have won Premier Leagues. He would have won more Champions Leagues. And I think the conversation around his legacy would be different. However, Liverpool fans probably wouldn't have his back as much. So maybe he wouldn't have the you know, because maybe Chelsea fans would still prefer Lampard. I don't know. But yeah.
There's an elephant in the room we have to talk about.
Go on, mate.
You chose to do a video yesterday, just before Grealish scored today.
Yeah, I did.
Just your luck. So if you guys haven't already seen the video, he's done a full-on video calling Jack Grealish a flop, one of the biggest flops in Premier League history. And what does he do? In 55 seconds, Terry, in this game, he must watch the video. So I'm telling you, what do you have to say about that? Because immediately, first thing I was thinking is, how is Terry going to get himself out of this? And you know what you did? You didn't even mention it.
I did mention it at the top of the video, actually.
No, but I'm saying recently, obviously,
yeah.
since I jumped in.
I don't need to get out of it. You even calling me out on it proves I'm right.
No, I'm not calling you out on it. I just
no.
Saying, what do you think?
I'll explain it. You calling me out on it, which is what you are, and it's fine, it's fair, is proving my point. Because what are you calling me out on? The fact that he did what?
He scored.
Exactly. So why did I say he's a flop in the video? Because he isn't scoring or creating enough goals. So when people say to me, Jack Grealish is proving you wrong, no, he's proving me right. He needs to score and assist more with his ability in... You watch the full-length video, he has no excuses. He's playing for the best team in England with the best manager in the world in an amazing system surrounded by brilliant players. There is no reason for Jack Grealish not to deliver other than himself adapting to the way they play football. So, yeah, I look at it from the point of view. You could also tell by the way he celebrated. He knows he needs to score more, and he knows he needs to assist more. He said it with an interview before the Euros to Peter Crouch. He's like, I want to assist and I want to score. It's what my job is. So he agrees with everything I'm saying. Probably doesn't agree that he's the biggest flop ever. And I'm sure he hasn't seen my video. But I don't even mean it detrimentally towards Jack Grealish. I just mean it along the sense of he needs to be scoring and or creating at the same rates as the Mahrezes, as the Fodens. He needs to be pushing the KDBs to warrant the £100 million price tag, in my opinion. Because that the big price tags, they weigh heavy. You know, I've got the same energy from players in my team. Sancho needs to score and assist more. Anthony, once he settles, you always give him a bit of time, has to deliver. He can't go through 3 or 4 seasons like getting 10 GA. No, not at 70, 80 million pounds. The expectation has to be there, and that's all it is. And I'm happy for Jack Grealish because I like him. I think he's a good kid. I say kid. Everyone's a kid to me. I'm old. But yeah, that's my stance on it. Like, he did exactly what I said he needed to do, and that was start scoring. So yeah, more power to him.
You are right to a certain degree, obviously not the whole flop, the biggest flop ever, because there is Lukaku's out there. There are Pepe's out there. There are bigger flops for the money spent. But when it comes down to him, he'll agree with you. After the game, I listened to his interview on BT Sport. He said, last time I scored was against West Ham last year. I need to do better. He agrees that he needs to do better. But when it comes to him, this is Pep's second season syndrome. It could be a similar situation where his second season, he understands the system a little bit better. He knows what Pep needs from him a little better, and maybe this year could be his bounce back season. I just don't think Jack Grealish overnight has become a terrible player. I just think it's a little harder for players to adjust to playing under Pep than especially if you're a midfielder who's played a completely different style of football. Where Haaland, he doesn't need adjustment time. He just comes in straight away banging goals. But midfielders, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, they all needed a little bit of time. I think this year you see Jack Grealish absolutely perform well. Just
on that as well. Sorry, my apologies.
Go on, mate.
To back up that point, for any player to get in form, they need a good run of games. And actually, we know Pep loves rotation, and especially on the wings. And I find every time he's played 3-4 games, he's then back out of the side again. And I know he should be producing the numbers to stay in the side, but actually we've seen, even if you produce the numbers such as Mahrez does, Pep has no issue with going, actually, no, we're pulling you out the side. And I think at Villa, I watched a video like Egal yesterday. Terry hit it. He was the main man. He had all that creative outlet, and he knew he was playing 10 games in a row if he was fit. Even if he had a bad game, that was off. Whilst actually here now, I think the pressure is also getting to him, because actually he knows if I have one bad game, I'm coming off even if I play good because of rotation. But even if I have one bad game, then I might not be coming back on for 2-3 games again. And I think that pressure is also getting to him. And I think with Jack, you're seeing an individual who's very, very good creatively and all these things. But I think a little bit low on confidence. And once that confidence gets knocked with players, it really does impact their performance. Rashford is the perfect example.
Yeah, listen, I look at it along this way with we've got Patrick joining us now as well. I look at it this way when it comes to like players scoring and people twist and change when they think stats are important, if that makes sense, you know, because you'll have a player like Bruno scoring and assisting and they say stats mean absolutely nothing. And then you hear they look at a player like Jack Grealish and go, man, just balls out, he balls out. And then the player himself's like, no, I need to score and assist more. KDB has openly stated that he gets more of a buzz off assisting. He loves creating, but how creating goals is his job. And the knock-on effect of creating chances and creating goals is you get assists. I've had people reply to the tweet I put out asking a question, by the way, asking the question about KDB. People saying like, why don't you understand this is the era of mad stats? You don't get it. Almost all top players have better stats today. Why? Because it's easier. But do they have better stats today? We've just looked at Steven Gerrard's, and if you look at their careers pound for pound, Gerrard and KDB have almost identical levels of goals and assists across all competitions in their careers. After, if you go back to Gerrard's career and look back at it after 545 games, like KDB has got, they're on similar numbers of goals and assists. He isn't like KDB isn't exponentially better at him than that. It isn't like Gerrard had in his career 150 assists and KDB's got 400. That would say it's easier now and everybody's running away with it. KDB is in that elite group of those attackers. You then get people say, but Scholes' numbers were nowhere near as good. Yeah, Scholes played most of his career much deeper than Steven Gerrard, much deeper than KDB. He was a controller of the tempo. He was more of your Xavi and Iniesta ilk, who was controlling tempos of games as opposed to being the chief creator. So you have to look at them in a different light. So that's what you kind of get from people. It's like, I think it's necessarily much easier now than it used to be. You're just talking about the best of the best. You always get this argument. People go, Maradona didn't have good numbers. Yes, he did. Ronaldinho didn't have good numbers. Yes, he did. And I speak about this so regularly now. The reason that we didn't obsess over their numbers back then is because they weren't accessible. They weren't shown. Even if you go back on like watch Sky Sports from the 90s, they would show, they wouldn't have what they have now, where you just get like throughout the course of a game, how many stats are you shown on screens now? That was never done. You might say things like the only stat you ever got shown on Sky Sports when I was growing up is if they scored, it would say third goal of the season for Steve McManaman. That's what it would say. I don't know why I picked Steve McManaman, but I did. Like it would tell you how many goals that season they'd scored. And the BBC, not the BBC, a couple of newspapers, they would show you like the stats charts, and it was goals only. And most newspapers just showed a players' league goals. And then there was one newspaper, and I think it was the Daily Mail back then, or the Daily Mirror. This was like in the 90s. They would show you someone's goals in all competitions. But that was the only place you could find this information. But you knew who the players were that were scoring and assisting a lot, because when you look at all these attacking players now and you go back and look at their stats, they've all got mad numbers. So they've always had them. It's just, what we're now able to do when you make your arguments on Twitter is you're able to say, I think KDB is the best because of this clutch moment, and he's got the best crosser and the best passer, and he's got this many assists and this many goals and this many trophies. 30 years ago in the playground at school, you didn't have access to that information. So you just spoke about the ability and the fact that he scores and creates loads of goals. You just didn't have the exact numbers. Does that make sense? But there isn't anybody from our history that we look at as one of the greatest creators of all time, as in the assister, you know, the guy that makes the assist pass, or a great attacker, great goal scorer, who doesn't have very good to world-class numbers. They don't exist. You can't find anybody like that. Now, what people will say, they go, Zidane. But Zidane wasn't, for me, a KDB style creator. Again, he was behind the move. He was the orchestrator in terms of the move. Again, a little bit Xavi Iniesta-esque. He never struck me as someone that I'd look at and call forward. Where KDB starts deeper, you actually look at the positions he takes up on the pitch, he's more of a forward. He's more of a forward, in my opinion, a forward-thinking midfielder, more of an attacking midfielder than a kind of a creator and a dictator of the tempo. That's just how I view it. People may see it a little bit differently, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily easier now than it used to be per se. But it's because all the elites have got it. We have a super chat here that I've missed. Where's it gone? It's a big green one. It was on my screen. Now it's disappeared. I hate when it does this on StreamYard. Sorry, peeps. Haaland assisted in every third game last season in the Bundesliga. He can stretch the line, go deep. Last season, experts said he can't score headers, so he did. Yeah, I mean, I remember them doing that to a lot of players. How you feeling, Patrick? Congratulations on the win.
I'm good, man. Sorry, you sent me a link at first. I was in the background just alone. It was saying
yeah, it was for a stream later. My fault. So I sent you the wrong link.
Yeah, so I left and ended up starting my own stream. Then when you sent me one, it was too late. But look, it's a great day. For me, the game wasn't great when Wolves went to 10 men. I said it in the space. They're very dangerous. Some people are saying 6. I was like, chill. Every time Wolves go to 10, they become difficult. And because they give up and they've got ballers. So they start balling without caring anymore. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. Another goal by Haaland. People say he does tap-ins. Was that a tap-in? I don't know. Was that a tap-in? Because it was outside the box. But another goal. And then he also helped create the other goal. People said, oh, the eye test. He fails it. Yet I saw him few times dribble past few players. And then that back dribble he did before he gave it to Ford, whoever, I think De Bruyne, and then the assist. People have to just admit it, Terry. As I said in that stream, just give up. It's good to give up now to save a bit of dignity. But I just wanted to say something on De Bruyne. Right now, it looks like Stevie G has played 504 games and assisted 92, and De Bruyne has played almost half, which is 217, and he's on 92. Yet all I hear from other people is, oh, this guy is not good enough. He can't be Zidane. He can't be Stevie. I think the only reason why they say all this, I'm going to be honest with you, is because he plays for City. If De Bruyne never played for Man City, trust me, people would be twerking for him. I hope I'm allowed to say that word. Will be twerking for him every day of their lives and saying this guy is the best midfielder they've ever seen. This guy's creating is amazing. The thing about it, Terry, is he can have a bad game and he still finds the pass. That's why De Bruyne stays in this team, because other players in our team can have a bad game, they won't find the pass. De Bruyne will find the pass, he will do something and he will score. So look, for me, the City game, I'm amazed, I'm happy. I'll take the 3 points. I wasn't happy with some of the performances, but I'll take the 3 points. Shout out to my man Akanji, who was bought for 15 million and is balling as a center back, and he helped us a lot today. The speed is amazing. Why some clubs spent 80 on a center back, we're spending 15. And then shout out to Gomez, who was bought for 11 million, who's playing good as a left back. Look, all around amazing performances. And let me talk about this man, because Terry, I ripped into him last week. Jack tried his best, and that's all we've been asking. None of us want him out of the club. We just ask him to take the ball, try run at your player, don't pass backwards, try your best. So big up to Jack. And when the board went up that maybe it's him who's going out, I saw him asking for the ball, dribbling past players, and he played well. So I'm amazed, man. I'm amazed by this, and I'm amazed by Haaland. How many goals? 9 games, and he's on 14. Some people say he's going to score 15.
Yeah, I saw people. My original tweet saying he'll break Mo Salah's record. Go look.
Oh, they laughed at you.
Yeah, but just go read some of the replies. Hilarious what people thought back then. I just want to point something out to people as well on stats, because I've had to do this before. Like Zinedine Zidane, he's classed as an attacking midfielder. I wouldn't call him maybe I've got it. My memory's wrong. I still didn't see him as someone that played off the striker. Does that make sense? I would love to see his heat maps. I thought he was a little bit deeper, but either way. But even in his career, 125 goals and 138 assists. Still amazing stats. Like I've said, they've all got good stats. And someone said Luis Figo, 179 assists, 113 goals. Now, what's intriguing, and I've actually emailed Opta twice, because they need to do this. And if they would commission me to make it and pay the money, because it would take days and I need paying, because I need a team of people and a camera crew to make this content, rewatch players like Figo, rewatch players like Zidane from their eras, because these men started playing in the late 80s. and all through the 90s. And people don't realize that a lot of assist stats, especially in a lot of the European leagues, they didn't start calculating until 2004 or even like recording the records properly. So I think there are players out there that played in the 80s and the 90s who, if you rewatch their games by today's assist standards, as in what constitutes an assist, I reckon the Zidans and the Figos and the Ryan Giggses of this world, my guess is 40, anywhere between 40, 50, anywhere up to as high as 100 more assists throughout their careers that you might be able to add on to those stats. Because you go back to someone like Zidane's early seasons, like in the 80s, and they're talking about like assisted in one game. I'm like, there's no way Zidane in the lower it was assisting 1 or 2 goals a season in his earlier years. I just believe that's wrong. If you went back and rewatched those games now, I bet you that guy 7 or 8 cutbacks in a season easy where people are putting tap-ins in. But remember, they didn't always used to count. There was a time in football, I remember listening to a guy on Opta talk about this, and it was pre-2014, where those little like 2-yard cutbacks where someone had a tap in, they didn't used to consider them as assists. If you passed the ball 3 yards to someone, yeah, like some of the things that now count as assists didn't back in the day. So like you used to do it, and you go back to, like, I'm not even talking like the Premier League era. You go back into the 80s and you look at some highly creative players, and it says they got no assist or 1 assist in a whole season. I just don't see that as being possible. I don't see it being as impossible. I just see that being absolutely impossible that a player like Zidane, and I'm looking at it now. If you go back to Zidane's career and you go back to 90, like this guy was playing in the go back to like 90-91 season, right? This guy was playing in League R. He only played 10 games that season. It says 1 goal, no assist. We go to his first full season where he played like regular games. I want to find it. Yeah, in his first season in League R, it said he played 31 games, and it's saying 0 assists. 0 assists in the UEFA Cup, 0 assists in the Cup de France in 37 games. I would guarantee that if you went back and watched that entire season and you watched all the goals that the team he played for then was, I want to make sure I get the name of the team he was playing for, right? Cannes. If you went back and watched those games for Cannes, I guarantee there's at least 1 assistant. Do you get what I mean? I can't believe Zidane went an entire season not assisting a single goal. It doesn't make sense to me. You go back, you go to
football's changed so much, Terry. Son's goal the other year against Burnley, where he ran through the whole team, counted as an assist for the defender.
Okay. Again, the following season, 92-93 season, 38 games he played. He's got 11 goals that season. They're saying 0 assists again. So that's 2 seasons running, 2 years running. Zidane didn't get an assist. There's something wrong with those stats. It doesn't sit right. So I think if you went back and watched, you wouldn't even need to watch everything Zidane did unless you wanted to get his chance created stats and everything. And that would be really cool. All you've got to do is watch back the goals that club scored that season in all comps. I guarantee you, I reckon across both those seasons, you're probably looking at combined 20 assists. You start doing this for these older players, and you add like an extra 100 assists to someone like a Zidane over his career, or maybe even 50. Suddenly you go, oh, fucking hell, he's got more assists per game than 95% of the entire history of football. And that's my point. It's these stats for older players are inaccurate. Players from the previous eras, like how good was George Best in your opinion?
Every time you watch him, like for me that time, obviously I'm not that old, but every time I see him, I start asking. I was like, were the defenders just bad, or is that great? And I remember one guy said, "Trust me, my guy."
So this is the point about GA, right? Why it matters now, but we need to go back in history. This guy only played 300 games in his career as a winger. This is a winger, not a striker, a winger. And in 350 games, he scored 137 goals. As a winger, okay? But do you know how many assists he got in his whole career, according to the stat companies?
How many?
3.
That's impossible.
It's impossible. This is why I say that. This is why people go, stats don't mean anything. The older players didn't have good stats. It's because they didn't collate the stats. But we knew they were creating and scoring at the same rates as the stars now. We just know it. And that's my point to people. These people that say stats are irrelevant are wrong. Stats aren't everything. You do need eye test. You need how someone performed in clutch games. I made this point about Harry Kane yesterday. It was a question. I'll ask it all to you, and you'll smile when I say it. How has Harry Kane performed in the seasons where it's been high pressured games every week because his team's been in multiple title races? How did he do in those seasons, Harry Kane?
How many seasons were those?
Exactly, right? So there's more than just stats that go into it. It's how did they handle pressure? How did they handle clutch moments? How do you handle adversity? The ability element goes into it. But we can't just discount stats because we didn't collate stats properly 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. It's ridiculous. To say George Best didn't create goals is weird. It just doesn't make any sense. So you go back to that era that he was in. I reckon easily in his career, he's got 100 to 150 assists as well as those goals, which means he's got more goals and assists than he had appearances in his career.
You can see
which
from
is
the
why,
videos
which
too.
is why he's one of the GOATs, which is why he was I think he won the version of the Ballon d'Or. You know, it's why it's just mad to me. And we didn't need the stats back then. Do you know why? Because you just knew he was scoring and assisting at those levels. The same as we know that KDB is scoring and assisting at ridiculous levels. The same as we know Mbappe's doing it. We could just now prove it with stats. But it annoys me that modern day football fans that they pretend like they didn't exist back then, or the players weren't doing it and nobody cared. Of course they did. The evidence just isn't there to back it up. But we know what we saw with our eyes, you know. It's a crazy one for me.
I had an argument, Terry. Just one more thing. I had an argument with somebody, then I gave up. I said, maybe I'm having an argument with the kid. What am I doing on Twitter? He came out and said, he says, why do people just hype Ronaldinho? Neymar is way better because he's effective and he brought his numbers and Ronaldinho. In my head, I was confused for a minute. I think you've just opened my eyes. So I was like, not the Ronaldinho I used to watch. Ronaldinho was crazy. What's going on here? And I was like, oh, I get it. It's because maybe what you're saying is true. Maybe the time when Ronaldinho was doing all that, some of those passes he was given from halfway line, those passes to the strikers, they were not counting them as assists. They were not counting anything at all. So even if you look at Ronaldinho, you cannot sit there as a human being and say, oh, Neymar is better than Ronaldinho. You can't do that.
But even Ronaldinho in his career, 197 goals and 162 assists. There's just none of these players that have bad numbers. It's a fact. So they do matter. That's otherwise you could just say someone that's a good dribbler that doesn't score an assist is as good as a Ronaldinho. The reason that Ronaldinho, the reason that Maradona, the reason that George Best, the reason that Thierry Henry, the reason that Messi and Ronaldo are looked at as the greats and obviously two aliens in that conversation isn't just because of their ability. It was their ability and the fact that there was end product consistently at the end of it. The two have to go together. So when I hear people talk to me about, oh, this is a great winger. Yeah, but he ain't scoring and assisting yet. Well, stats aren't everything. Well, they are. They are in terms of the greatness conversation. You need ability and outputs. You need both of these things together to be a great player, in my opinion, because over the course of history, from an attacker's point of view, one doesn't exist without the other. They cannot be mutually exclusive of one another, in my humble opinion. But there we go. That's just me. A lot of people saying, let's get back to today's game. We did like about 45 minutes on today's game, people, and the conversation kind of moved on.
Can I just say one thing on what Patrick said earlier?
Go on, man, go on.
No one's going to praise City for signing bench players for 17 million, 15 million. That's what everyone should be signing bench players for. It's the fact that you have such a good squad. It's the fact that you have such a good squad that you guys can afford to go sign these fringe players for a lot cheaper because you don't need to strengthen your first team. Arsenal needs to strengthen their first team. Even Liverpool, who are competing with you, need to somewhat strengthen their first team rather than just looking at their bench. So
yeah,
no one's going to praise City for signing.
But can I say something? That's where the hating is because you guys never give City any credit because first of all, I said it. Look, I said it on a stream that Akanji is not coming to sit on the bench because I watched him for Switzerland and I watched him before. I think this guy is going to be playing because Walker is getting injured a lot. So we need speed. So this guy's going to be first choice next to whoever's playing. Guess what? The only player that's playing right now is Akanji next to centre-backs changing. So, yes, I get what you mean, like bench players. But even Gomez, I bet you Gomez is slowly being embedded in and he's going to be a baller. But that's the thing. At the end, everybody has the opportunity to go strengthen that squad. But City found Akanji, while Chelsea went to find Fafana for 70, 80.
No, but there's a difference. I don't like Chelsea, but I'll defend them for a moment. If Chelsea go in to sign a player and that player is coming into their first team, they need to spend more money because they know they're desperate or they know that they don't have the players already in their team to then, and they need this player more than you. Manchester United, they need that player more than it's Man City. So you are going to pay more as a Manchester United, as a Chelsea to sign a player than Manchester City because Manchester City don't necessarily need that player. It's not do or die. They're still going to win the league without that said player.
Yeah, but also I can also counter you by saying Akanji had 18 months left on his not 18 months, about 12 months left on his contract. How come others couldn't go scout him? So you can also give credit to our scout.
Bro, Arsenal wanted Gomez. Arsenal looked at Gomez as our alternative to Zinchenko. What are you talking about? Other people scouted these players. They just don't view them as first choices for their first team. City view them as squad depth. And the reality is that's why people keep saying City's second team is as good as their first team, because you guys continue to strengthen your team year in, year out, and every player looks good. I bet you any money, if you played your second string team week in, week out, you would not look as good. It's because they're playing with your first team players that are world class.
Just on that, Egal, I'll play devil's advocate. And as an Arsenal fan, you wouldn't understand this because your team doesn't challenge on all fronts, and you haven't for the last 5, 6, 7, 8
stop there, man. I liked you for a second. You didn't have to go there.
when you're talking City and Liverpool, they don't have a starting 11. They have a starting 16, 17 because they play on all fronts every 3 days. So if you're bringing, and City are immaculate at this, they bring in players who know that actually if someone's out, we're not really going to drop many levels below, because the player we're bringing, even if he's cheap, our scouting team has done enough. And this is the one part of the game where City are heads and shoulders above anyone else in the Premier League. They're planning for the future, and they're planning for their squad of 16 to 17 starters is just heads and shoulders above. And that's because they're rich. They're rich.
But you're missing my point. My point is no one's going to go out and praise them over the odds saying, oh my God, what a great signing, what a great signing. It's because realistically.
But you will never. Even Diaz, you never.
Do you know what, Egal, though? I get your point, right? But I saw people tweeting throughout the course of this game about City. Going, might as well end the league now. We can't compete with them. Yes, you can. City, because of the FFP rules, City don't have an endless supply of money. If you actually look at the income of City versus Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, we're all much of a muchness. Man United, slightly more than everybody else, but we're all much of a muchness. FSG could spend similarly to Man City. By the way, City also raised a lot of money for the sale of players. Loads of money. Like, I really hope City fans start pushing this whole we have to sell to buy nonsense. Like we're underdogs. It'd be quite funny, right? Look how much money City, I think in the last 2 seasons, easily they've sold £200 million worth of talent and reinvested it. The difference between FSG and Liverpool and way Man City are run is City keep investing in the squad, in the right players at the right time to keep themselves at the top, and they have the best manager in the world. If Liverpool spent like City consistently and maintained every other element of what they do, we wouldn't be looking at the season as going to be a runaway. By the way, Arsenal, Man United, and Chelsea can catch Man City over the course of time if you run your club with a club mentality. So there's a club standard, a club style of player, a club level of mentality, and a manager that brings that all together in the right way. City are not going to let Pep leave and then go in a completely new direction, hire a manager that plays a completely adjacent style of football that doesn't want 85% of this squad over the next 2 to 3 years. They'll look to make it as seamless as possible. Whether the new manager comes in and is world-class and able to maintain the winning is another thing. Will they be as good without Pep? No, because he's the best manager in the world and you're never going to be able to replace him like for like. It's impossible. But they'll have that system. City are catchable, but it's about clubs having patience. I'm listening to Chelsea fans at the moment cry, oh, I want to win now. I don't want to wait. City didn't do this over the last 3 or 4 years. This City program has been running for 12, 13 years now.
With a lot of mistakes.
It's taken a decade to get City to a point where they can dominate English football. And we've seen Liverpool dominate English football in the 70s and 80s. We saw Man United do it in the 90s and the noughties. And now we're seeing City do it again because City are the first of the elite teams in England to have a club plan, Ajax style, Dortmund style, Bayern Munich style, but with Premier League money. And that's why continuity at board level, system level, and structural level is needed in the Premier League. If clubs keep chopping and changing and going in new directions, not with managers, but with philosophies and these word rebuilds, you're never going to make it back to the top. And I think City deserves so much praise for this because they've been the most consistently run team of the top 6 who continue to invest in their team. And Liverpool should have been there. But instead of Liverpool going out this summer and making sure they signed Tchouaméni or making sure they got Declan Rice this summer or going out and buying a star to elevate their team to another level, they didn't do it. They were like, I will get by with another year with Milner. That's just because they're penny pinching as a football club. There's no getting around it. They're penny pinching because Liverpool could goddamn afford it. They earn enough money. Even if they had to do like a donation thing up to their fans, could you all donate £1 each? The Liverpool fans will pay it. Like, there's a way of getting the money in, right? There's a way of getting it in. They just chose not to do it. City deserves so much praise for what they've achieved. They've got a super chat here from Gunner Down Under. Says, hello, boys. Harry Kane is what Harry Kane has already become. Haaland is levels and is only getting started. His ceiling could be endless still. That's what's true. He's on Harry Kane's goal scoring level now at 22. You know, as we said, Harry Kane at this age was just starting to break into that Tottenham team, you know. He just come back from Leyton Orient or something. No, he was a little bit older than that, to be fair. And people, again, but people keep polarizing as well. Like, Harry Kane's amazing. I just think Haaland's a better finisher than him. I just think only slightly. The Football Terrace should have a boxing competition like YouTubers. Would love to see Terry versus Egal. I would never beat up Egal. That'd be stupid. Why would I beat him
in the same weight class?
No, if I got to fighting weight, we're not. But no, I wouldn't want to do it. Listen, I'm not doing it anyway. I'm old now. I'm 36 years old. I ain't getting in a ring fighting no one. Did you see what happened? I know I'm a bit younger than him. Did you see what that weird? I don't say weird guy. You know, Astrid Wet. Is that her name? The Chelsea porn star. When her dad fought that young buck. That's why I wouldn't want to fight any of these guys. Even if in my pomp I might have beaten them.
That's her dad. That's her dad.
That's her dad. Yeah.
No, it's not Simon. Simple Simon.
Simple Simon. Is that Astrid Wet's dad?
No, that's not.
I thought it was her dad. I thought it was her dad. I thought it was because I swear I seen them on like things together.
No. Yeah, that's why it was weird. That's why it was weird.
Oh, so I saw all these memes. I didn't watch any of them. Of people saying, why is he talking? Like, he would like a picture of her like half naked. And I was like, why is her dad doing that? I thought it was her dad.
No. That's why it was weird.
I see. I don't engage. The thing is, I don't engage in like typical content creating world. I've just got no interest in it. I just feel too old for it. Does that make sense? But I see some of these young bucks in the boxing ring, and I'm like, yeah, I'm too old for that now. Like, I like my wine and my cheese, brother. I'll stick to that.
Years old. He got sparked.
Oh yeah, I mean, he should never have. I don't know how they even allowed him in the ring with a 20-odd-year-old. Like, it's dangerous.
The money. They're willing to do it for the money. The money is a bit. The pocket is too big. I think so. People are willing to get smacked on TV for that.
Yeah, I mean, if someone comes to me and said 100 grand, Terry, get in a ring with KSI, I'd probably do it for a laugh. But no, even that, when I first watched KSI fight, as someone who used to be like a good level kickboxer, I was like, I beat him easy. Now watching people like him fight after years of training, I'm like, yeah, I'm too old. I ain't getting in the ring with them now. Like, do you know my mindset? Because at first they were like windmilling. They couldn't fight. Now, like, there's a nice snap behind the jab. There's a good stuff. Especially Jake Paul. Like, Jake Paul's a lot better than people think he is. He's I'm not saying it. I mean, him calling out Canelo is stupid, right? But I think he might beat Anderson Silva. You know, I think he might knock Anderson Silva out.
Called out Canelo.
Yeah, he wants to fight Canelo.
He's calling out everybody. He's calling out everybody. They're just calling out everybody. It's the money.
Yo, Cameron, you would not beat KSI. Stop it.
They said you'd still beat KSI. Look, I don't know if I actually trained and was disciplined and did like a year back training, I wouldn't get embarrassed. The problem is with a lot of these. I watched the YouTube fight the other night where KSI fought and Deji fought, and what I noticed about a lot of the guys is as soon as they get one punch. They're like, for a lot of the fight, they start looking away. They're like, they fight like this, and then they get caught and knocked out. And obviously, someone who's I've fought before, I wouldn't have that issue. But
Terry, this is how it starts. Terry, this is how the fights start. As soon as you say that, somebody clips you and tags KSI.
Yeah, but I'm safe.
I'm
safe. I'm safe because I'm not saying KSI, but I'm safe because I'm not a big enough name for any of these people to want to fight. There's the one thing I would say, and it's not a dig, there has to be clout in it. So for some of these big YouTubers with 3 million followers, they would never take, even if I wanted to fight and I don't, they would never take the risk fighting someone like me because there's no advantage in it for them because I can't help them grow. It's just me growing off them potentially, so they won't do it. You know, I'll give an example. Okay, maybe, but you've got someone like
you do. You have
Ransom Bance is a great example. He's obviously in the football world. He's a massive YouTuber. I think in the grand scheme of YouTube, not so much because of whatever else. None of these guys will want to fight him because he'd knock most of them out. There's no mileage in getting knocked out by someone they view as less famous. Does that make sense? It's all about it's why Jake Paul always calls out the likes of McGregor and whatnot, because there's if he was calling out some 2-0 boxer no one's heard of, what would be the point? It's all about clout chasing. And I mean that in a nice way. Like, I like when people call me a clout chaser, and I'm like, But that's why you're calling me out on my tweet, because you're clout chasing. Like everybody to a degree clout chases. Like, it's the way it is. But get it trending. Yeah, listen, I reckon I could beat. I reckon I could beat, of those YouTube boxers, if I was able to train properly at 36, I reckon I could beat 80% of them still. But then I wouldn't fight boxing style. I'd have to fight kickboxing style, but without kicks. But yeah, I reckon I could beat a few of them. But yeah, but they're not going to want to fight me. So there's no point talking about it.
Give it a few weeks. Give it a few weeks. Terry versus KSI.
But listen, I would fight KSI though.
Look it up, KJ.
I know, but I'd fight KSI for. I'm not even going to be ashamed to say why. Just like a lot of celebrities go on Strictly Come Dancing or I'm a Celebrity, I would fight KSI because it would improve my business. Because win, lose, or draw, people have respect for you, and it would grow the channel. So
well done.
If KSI DM me tonight saying, Terry, in 3 months I need a fighter, could you get in shape to fight me in 3 months? But it's going to be on TV, it's going to be on this. I'd say yes.
Would you fight Expressions? Because he wanted to fight Saeed, but Saeed, I think, chickened out.
The thing is, no, I wouldn't fight anyone in this realm. For one reason, I couldn't fight someone I know and like. I'm not best friends with Expressions, but I like him. But I wouldn't fight him because 2 reasons. One, I don't think it would do enough growth for the terrorists, and I mean that in the sense of why I said I'd fight someone like KSI is because that would make my channel grow to another level. Fighting Expressions would definitely make my channel grow, but it isn't worth getting beat up for like an extra 2,000 subscribers and a couple of trending videos. You get what I'm saying? It's not worth me getting beat up for that. But I'd take a pasting from a young KSI to suddenly have an extra 500,000 people in the world knowing who I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's worth the risk.
You know what the key is? Get FouseyTube, because he's terrible. You'll beat him up.
I've seen some of them. And I'm like, no, like I just knowing I can. The thing is, at my age, I've still got power. I just don't have the speed anymore. Like the speed is gone. Like the speed is finished. Looking at HAALAND, Kane might be depressed being at top spur this season. Kane might underperform. Conte's team might get worse. I don't think that will happen. I still think he'll score and perform and stuff like that. They'll give Terry 2 weeks to get ready. Yeah, that'll be what it. No way I'm getting in the ring after 2 weeks. I've got a proper beer belly, mate. I ain't getting in no ring. Because X would slap you, fam. Well, this is the thing. Listen, X is a good guy. I don't know how good or bad a fighter he is. I have no idea. Equally, I've got no idea. But yeah, like I've said, I'd only ever do this. I remember they actually asked me once. The UFF guy said, would you fight Rance? And I said, how much are you willing to pay me? Because it would have to be for a lot of money, because I like Rance. I get on with Rance. I wouldn't, there's no like I'd fight. If you didn't like someone, there's a reason to fight them. Does that make sense? You want to I want to get one over on you.
Yeah.
I've got no motivation to fight anybody that I like, because what's actually in it for me? I don't want to win or lose against them, because there's no mileage in it. But if there's lots of money, or the person you're fighting is huge and you would grow massively in terms of your profile and your career, then it's worth taking the risk a little bit. Because I also don't think any of these guys can punch hard enough to seriously injure you for life with gloves on. I don't think any of them possess the power to put you in a coma. Like, I just don't, or damage you permanently. Like, I don't think they do. Terry willing to sacrifice his face for $1 million. Listen, he offered me £1 million. I'd get in the ring with Michael Page. Like, actually, no, I know Michael Page. I wouldn't want to fight him for £1 million. I'd fight a professional boxer, probably.
Would you go one round with Tyson?
No.
No, that's extreme. That needs to be a lot of money. That needs to be a lot.
Again, there's no money you could get me to get in the ring with Tyson, even at his age. You couldn't get me in the ring with anyone.
Mike Tyson or Tyson? Which one?
Either. I wouldn't get in the ring with anybody that is like on rehydration weight. Anyone that's middleweight or higher as a professional boxer, I would not take a single penny to get in the ring with, because those people will kill you. And like, of that weight class, that's why, again, because I know my fighting weight, I'm a lot lighter than I am when I walk around eating and drinking normally. I couldn't do it. Like, people like that, it's crazy. I remember someone said, "Oh, would you get someone?" Like, I remember watching a blog once. Someone said, "Oh, they reckon they could get through 2 rounds with Anthony Joshua." And I'm like, if Anthony Joshua lands a punch in your face, he wouldn't just knock you out. Your face would cave in. You'd never be the same person again. Like, I'd never do it, not for love nor money. But Lee Gunner versus Egal would be a good fight, because Lee's tall and skinny. Egal's a little bit shorter, but that'd be a good fight. I'd like to see that one.
I'd like to see that.
He's not a violent person. I'll tell you that.
You wouldn't be able to enjoy that money if you get in the ring with Tyson. Exactly. Like, it's not worth the money. Terry versus Goldbridge. Goldbridge is not a fight. Again, I wouldn't fight Goldbridge. He's not a fighter. That would just be ridiculous. He'd get hurt, and I wouldn't do that. Jake Paul. I wouldn't fight Jake Paul now. No. Again, I know I would actually. That's a lie. I would fight Jake Paul for the right money. What like if
now
again,
at the beginning it was bad, but now, my God.
yeah. But what I mean is, I'd fight Jake Paul if they were like, yeah, there's £2 million. Fight Jake Paul. I'd take 2 million to fight Jake Paul. I would. I'd train. I'd get fit. I'd fight him for 2 million quid. Because then I'm gonna look again.
You've made a challenge to KSI.
Yeah, no, I'm not challenged. I'm just saying I would do it. Terry versus Simon Jordan. Yeah, sorry.
Would you fight Chunks' friend Nico?
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
I'm not really. I know who Chunks is because of Soccer Aid. What's his name? Nico. Is he the
Nico's the guy who ran for mayor?
Yeah, is he the guy that recently went to the most racist town in?
Yeah,
I'd fight someone like him because I don't mean it rudely. Like I think he's a bit of a geek, isn't it? Like, I don't think he's an athlete. I'd fight him.
He's a bit annoying sometimes.
Send it to him.
No, I know. I've watched it. He's the guy. He did a great video where he was interviewing that lady about like Brexit, and she was like, all the foreigners coming. He goes, have they taken your teeth? And she went, yes, they have. I know who he is. He's a cool guy. Yeah, he's a cool guy. I know who. Now that you're saying it, I know who he is. I'm just.
That's challenge number 3 for Terry.
Yeah.
Let's try to line them up, people.
Goldbridge versus DT. Yeah, Goldbridge isn't a fighter. Like he ain't that kind of way versus DT. I mean, I've heard DT's out, by the way. I've heard he's out. Heard rumors. Well, he liked to tweet, so I don't know. But when he was inside before, his brother was tweeting on his behalf. Should I have him on the show?
Probably not.
But there we go. Listen, everyone that's tuning in, it's a much longer stream than I expected to do after a Man City win. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Please make sure you smash. Yeah, do you know what though? Jake Paul's about cruiserweight level. I actually don't know if I'm big enough to fight him. Like, fighting weight, I'm nowhere near that weight. Like I lose weight when but for a couple of £1 million, I'd get in there with you, Jake Paul. But the thing is, I'm not even calling him out like in that way because Jake Paul would look at me in my profile and go, like, there's even no point in him risking it. Because if I caught him on this is the problem Jake Paul's got as a boxer. As soon as he gets beat, it will half end him anyway, I think. Because then people are like, well, why take the risk? But he would never take the risk fighting a YouTube content creator of my level ever. Because if I caught him on the chin and knocked him out, no one else would ever take the risk of fighting him again. Because what's the point? So
if he gives you a Rolex, Terry, you'll take the punch.
Nah, like the thing. No, I wouldn't. Like the thing with it is as well. I also listen. I wouldn't. I'm talking flippantly here. Like it wouldn't ever happen. But yeah, these guys are good fighters. By the way, do I think I could beat Jake Paul in a boxing fight? No, absolutely not. Like I think he would. I think he'd now with the skills he's got, he'd pummel me. He'd fucking pummel me now. I'm a boxer. But yeah, Andrew Tate. Yeah, again. By the way, I wouldn't fight Andrew Tate. I grew up and knew who Andrew Tate was as a fighter. He was in the same associations as me. He is a legit badass in the ring. Whether you like his opinions or not is irrelevant. The man can fight. When he got kicked out of Big Brother, one of the reasons that Channel 4 kicked him out is because some of the men in the house they were like gearing up to want to fight him, and Channel 4 realized if these guys try and fight him, this is when he was still a fighter, they're gonna get laid out on live national TV. So they had to go in and take him out of the house. Yeah, I won't. Yeah, Andrew Tate is a serious one in terms of a fighter. Tyrone Woodley, Terry would beat him. Like, Tyrone Woodley and these guys. I don't know. I'm still not convinced Tyrone Woodley. I'm not convinced he didn't get knocked out. I'm still not convinced Tyrone Woodley just didn't let him punch him. I'm still a part of me that's like, did he let him punch him? I don't know. I don't know.
He looked like he laid out.
It's like the way the feet went to the side. Like, you ever seen the film Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage? There's a bit in the film, the boxer, it doesn't ruin the film. The boxer takes a dive, but like you see this scene but then someone gets shot in the crowd. That's what and then the whole film is about different people's points of view of the incident. And you see this incident where the guys pretend to be unconscious and a gun goes off and he wakes up like this because he's scared. And I just don't know whether that was Tyrone Woodley or not, but there we go. Listen, everyone that's tuned in, a big thank you to each and every single one of you that's tuned in. Terry versus Brock Lesnar. Nah, you're all right, mate. Not even in fake fighting do I want to go up against that man. Listen, everyone. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll